Can you master a song here in GarageBand on your iPhone or iPad? Well, given that we don't even have a master volume track, you'd think it would be kind of difficult. But like most things here in GarageBand, there are a couple of hacks and workarounds that can help you do it. In this video, I'm going to show you how. Let's go. Step one, we need to take our final project and mix it down to one stereo track. To do that, we tap on any of the icons and tap on the merge button. And now we select each and every track. There is a little bug at the moment where your top track's going to be over here. Don't worry about that. Just select all of the tracks in your project. And once they're all selected, tap on the merge button in the top right corner. GarageBand goes through and mixes down all of the effects, plugins, panning, volume control, automation, everything, and will create one stereo track for us to use to master. And just like that, our final mastered stereo track that we can now add some mastering plugins to. But first, what I'm going to do is zoom in on this one and just trim off the start and the finish. So to do that, I tap on the track here, grab this handle and just trim it back a little bit, and then grab the whole thing and move it back. I'm going to do the same to the end just to cut off any silence after the track. Again, tap it, drag it, and done. And just to clean things up, I'm going to tap on the sections here and go to the final section here, section M, and just remove those last 4 bars that we won't need. Now, everything is nice and neat and tidy. Now, what GarageBand has done is it has mixed down this track and normalized the volume. So if we hit play now, let's take a look and a listen. So looking pretty good. And if we wanted to, we could just go ahead and export this now by tapping in the top left and exporting as a song. If you want to learn how to export your songs, check out the other video linked in the description. Oh, and in case you're worried about losing all of your other tracks, never fear. If we tap in the top left here, you'll see that a copy has been made of the original project with all of your tracks intact. So now what I like to do is tap and hold and tap rename, and then call this one our master version by typing master here at the end. Let's tap to go back into it. And now, because this is a stereo track, we have a volume slider, so we can adjust the volume up and down, and that means we can turn it down to create a little bit of headroom for our track to add in some mastering plugins. To add those plugins, tap on the mixer icon here in the top left and plugins and EQ. And yes, we can turn off the effect EQ, it doesn't really do much. And now we can add compression or EQ or any other plugins we like. Let's first look at EQ. Now, listening back to this track, I think I need to just tame the treble a little bit. So what I can do with this master volume is tap on the visual EQ and tap this one here, and I can actually adjust this. I can pick what frequency I want and just turn it down a little bit. I'm going to show you this and do it quite dramatically, just so that you can hear that we can now influence our entire stereo mix.
Told me, son, you'd better dance while you've got the chance. And have the talent.
Now, perhaps I've found that at the very low end, I've got some hum or some bass sounds that I don't want as well. What we can actually do is do a bit of a low pass filter here by turning down the low end as well. Let's take a listen.
But I would rather sit and play with toys.
Now, if you're thinking 3 bands isn't really enough for me, no problem at all. If we hit the edit button here, you can tap the plus button here and add in any other EQ you like. You can either use the dynamic processor, which is down here, the Apple version, which comes with GarageBand for free. There's, again, videos showing you how to get those down in the description if you'd like to learn. And you can even use things like my favorite, the LRC5 and LRC7, which are parametric EQs with a whole bunch more bands that we can have complete customization of not only the frequency, but the amount of EQ that we apply. Now, mastering can include plugins like a stereo width plugin or maybe even some reverb or delay, but one of the most important things that most folks focus on is a limiter. Now, in GarageBand, if we tap edit and hit the plus button here, we have a peak limiter built in. If we tap on the audio unit extensions and scroll to the very bottom, you'll see this one here, AU peak limiter. And once again, if you don't have these white Apple plugins, check out the other video to learn how to ensure that they're installed. One thing we do want to ensure is that our limiter is the very last plugin we use. So let's tap on the edit button here, and we can actually drag this plugin to the very bottom to ensure that the limiting is the last thing done. Let's hit done and move on. So, what exactly is a limiter? Well, it's similar to a compressor. It will actually squash down those high volume parts. It does mean you lose a bit of dynamic range, but it can level out the performance. And it's often called a brick wall compressor or limiter because it won't allow the volume to go over 0 dB or the maximum amount of volume. The limiter here in GarageBand is very simple. It's got attack, release, and pre-gain. So you can play around with these, and I've got other videos showing this in more detail. We're going to leave the attack at 2, the release at 5, and just show you what happens when we turn up the pre-gain here. Let's take a look and a listen.
Drag me away, all the while trying to say, son, there'll be time for all that, you better start dancing.
So what you're seeing there is that as I turn that pre-gain up, this limiting amount is kicking in, and it shows you on the graph over here the peaks that are actually being pushed down. At the same time, it's doing some automatic gain adjustment to bring the overall volume up. And you'll see the meter here, even though it's not a great meter, will start showing a more level performance. I'll do this again and just keep an eye on this meter up the top. We'll actually start with the gain down and we'll turn it up from there.
Time after time we are standing in line and we're making the most of each ride. I'm happy to see that you're waltzing with me and we're dancing in 6 and 8 time.
Now, what are you hearing when I turn it up too much? Well, not only can you see that a whole bunch of limiting's taking place, you will hear two distinct things. You will hear distortion or clipping and pumping. These are the things you want to avoid when doing any sort of mastering. The idea of mastering is to do no harm. So let's play this again and just listen for that pumping and that distorted sound.
Now I found a
So you can hear there every time the snare kicks in, it's limiting so much that it's pumping down. You get that wavering sound. And you're also hearing those little clicks and pops. So the idea here with your gain is to set it to a level where you're getting a nice level volume. You're still maintaining a little bit in the way of dynamics, but you're actually boosting things up to get the levels radio ready. So let's try and find a nice happy medium spot here.
reason I should dance. There would be romance around the corner.
That sounds pretty good. Let's hit the done button there and see how this turns out. Now, the other thing, because we don't have an input gain control here in the limiter, is you may want to experiment with reducing your actual volume here, which will reduce the amount of volume going into the limiter and then turn the limiter up more. You can get some different kinds of sounds, but it is a case of trial and error to get the best combination of dynamics, but also some nice limited sounds that are going to make your mix sound full and your masters sound great. Now, once you've added any of these plugins or effects to your final master, how do you check it's actually going to sound good? Well, that's where we do need to export it. So a quick refresher on exporting, we jump out by tapping in the top left, and then we tap and hold on this master version and hit the share button. Tap on song, and you want to ensure that it's uncompressed wave, the maximum quality possible to ensure the best quality for our master. So let's tap on share, hit the save to files button, and let's save it back in that same folder. And now to listen to this, we need to switch over to the Files app. So I'm going to swipe up and tap on the Files app, jump into our folder, and let's tap on this one. Let's jump to a middle section here where it's sort of at its loudest. That's a great place to listen in for a final master, and hit play.
To go dancing. Time after time we are standing in line.
Sounding pretty good. Let's hit done. And one final tip, and this is kind of the secret sauce. Because GarageBand doesn't have great metering, you can't check your LUFS and other things, and don't worry if you don't know what that means. What we could do is go over to Safari and go to loudnesspenalty.com. This is a website that will check your master to see whether it will be turned up or down on streaming platforms. And then you can adjust your master accordingly. So let's tap select a file, tap on choose file, and grab that master that we just created. Now it will process the audio, not actually uploading it. And here you can see that our song will actually be turned down. Remember how I turned that limiter up a little bit? Yeah, it probably needs to come down a few dB because all of these different services will be turning it down, meaning that I've created a master that has a loudness that is overall too much. So now I can go back into my GarageBand and actually start adjusting that to make sure that it doesn't get turned down quite as much. You're never going to get it perfect, but you want it to be kind of close to 0 or being turned up or down 1 or dB or so. So a great way to check your master once you've done it in GarageBand. And there you have it. Is GarageBand the greatest place to master your tracks? No, but can you do it with a few little tricks and hacks and different things? Yes, you absolutely can. I hope you found this one useful. If you'd like to learn a heap more about creating, recording, and releasing your best music right here in GarageBand, check the other videos linked in the description, and I'll see you next time.